The castle of Barolo dominates the landscape, just as the wines of Barolo have dominated Piemonte. Their history goes on for hundreds of years, but in the last 30, there's been a bunch of people making new waves. So come with me and let's dive deep into Barolo. Nestled in the heart of Piemonte hills, the town of Barolo lends its name to the best wine from the surrounding region. It must be made with the fussy Nebbiolo grape, which needs the sunniest and best sites to achieve an ideal balance of strong tannins, high acid, and the beautiful fragrance of complex spices, red fruits, and lovely lifted floral notes. With such a perfumed grape, traditionally winemakers here have always let the grape speak for itself, not covering it with the flavor of new oak barrels. That's why you rarely see the small barrels found in France, but instead you get wonderful old botti, the large-sized barrels. They allow the wine inside to develop slowly, smoothing out those fearsome tannins and mellowing the strong structure, without overwhelming the delicate nature of the glorious Nebbiolo with new oak flavors. The Montezemelos were not the only nobility attracted by Barolo. King Vittorio Emanuele himself wanted to make the King of Wines. So come with me and let's take a look at the royal winery, Mirafiore. Luca, here we are in these beautiful surroundings. Could you tell me the story of Mirafiore?
Yeah. So the first king of Italy used to come here. His name was Vittorio Emanuele II. He used to come here to hunt. He got in love with a beautiful farmer of the area. Ooh. She was not a noble. He was married with the queen, so it was a big scandal at the time. But when the queen died, he decided to marry this woman. Her name was Rosa Vercellana, Belarusine in Italy. And they got 2 kids from this marriage.
Okay, so this winery was set up to support the illegitimate child of the king.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Well, it's romantic, isn't it?
It's very romantic. You know, in Italy we are very romantic. It's our part of our culture.
And what does Mirafiore mean?
So basically, Casa Emanuele di Mirafiore, Casa is a house, Emanuele is the son of the king, so Emanuele di Mirafiore. Mirafiore is their last name, it also means look at the flower.
So this winery was set up over 150 years ago. That's a lot of history. How would you say that the wines have changed over that time?
We started around 1858. So the first king of the first son of the king, Emanuele, he was a pioneer at the time. And he was one of the first person in the area to understand that Barolo could have a very important story even abroad, not just in Italy.
So we have a long history here in the winery, and we have different packaging that's changed recently. So here we have your more classic packaging, and there, I like this bottle. I think it's a kind of nice shape. And then we have your modern one. Well, that's a little bit more fine, maybe it's lost a bit of weight.
No, you know, it's a question to show yourself in a better way, let's say, to show our wines in a better way. The first one is very classic, it's classic as you can see, but the new one, it's also a bit classic, but a little bit more elegant, I would say. Taller, with a stripe also here with the signature of the king, the son of the king, Emanuele.
Son of the king, okay.
Yeah. Red with an M, meaning Mirafiore on the top. And, you know, even Barolo a little bit bigger, you know, to show to people that we are making Barolo. Yeah.
So, do the wines of Mirafiore come from just this area, or do you have vineyards all over in Barolo?
Right now we are in Serralunga commune, which is very well known for structured kind of Barolos. But actually we own also, still in the Langhe, another single vineyard, which is called Paiagallo, where we make also Barolo there. And it's in the city of Barolo actually. Because you can make Barolo in 11 municipalities. So basically Barolo is the main city and gives the name to the wine as well. But also in Serralunga, we're not so far from Barolo actually. 5 kilometers in car you can get there 5 minutes. So in this Langhe area, in this 11 municipality, you can make the Barolo. So it doesn't mean that just in Barolo you can make the wine because you have the vineyards there, just there.
Ah, well, I'm very excited to taste your wines and to see what this beautiful place of Mirafiore can bring me.
Yeah.
What's the first wine that we're going to try?
I would suggest you to drink Barolo Classico before.
Okay, let's go for the Barolo Classico.
It's a vintage, it's a nice vintage, 2015.
Okay. Was 15 a good vintage for you?
It was a great vintage, the weather was perfect.
Excellent.
Warm, so perfect for Nebbiolo grape.
Beautiful color.
Yeah, beautiful. Usual color for Barolo. We are very classic on this, so longer maceration. We never use barriques, but just a medium-sized oak.
Okay.
So,
well, can I just say cheers?
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Salute.
Beautiful surroundings. Cheers.
Cheers.
So that to me is a very classic Barolo. It's got everything I'm looking for. It's got the freshness, it's got delicate fruit, it's got fragrance. And what I like about this is that the tannin, they have a fineness to them.
You're very right, because this is a blend between grapes from 2 different parts of the Langhe area. So from here, from Serralunga, and from Barolo city. So here you have the structure, the power, and the balsamic side that you taste. On Barolo, instead, you have the elegance, the fruitiness, and maybe that finish.
The fineness
The
of the
fineness that you were telling me.
Yeah. So that for you is like almost the flagship wine.
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Have you got anything else interesting?
Yeah, today we are presenting something very new. And magic, actually.
Magic?
Yeah.
I like magic.
Because Mirafiore is very historical, traditional, classic, but also magic.
So I can't wait to hear about this wine. What is it?
So it's called Pietra Magica. If you translate it, it's a magic stone.
A magic stone.
Yeah, because you have to know, here in the area, we found some very old anthropomorphous stone in front of the vineyard.
Okay, so let's have some of the Pietra Magica, the magic stone. Oh wow, it's quite a different color, isn't it?
It is, because this one is a blend. It's not just Nebbiolo, which is the main part, by the way, but it is also with a little bit of Barbera. That's give you the color and the freshness.
Okay. And that's why it's got this lovely sort of purple pink sort of color.
That's why.
Hey, look, does it go with my hair?
It will go very well, actually. It's perfect.
And when you smell it, you get a lot of lively sort of red fruit.
Yeah.
It's very pretty, it's very lifted.
Fresher.
Oh gosh, fresh, gorgeous.
Bigger acidity.
But not heavy. Not sort of, it doesn't weigh you down. It makes you feel like it's light. It makes you want to eat some food.
Yeah, actually, because there is the Barbera, and the Barbera is famous because we want to pair the Barbera usually with food. So it's a blend between Nebbiolo and Barbera. So the Nebbiolo is a big structure, and the Barbera gives you color, freshness, and acidity.
But let me ask you something. This is not allowed to be called Barolo.
No, at all.
Completely forbidden.
Basically, it's a Langhe Rosso. So it's a red wine from Langhe area.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even though it's from Barolo and comes from there, you can't call it because it's got that bit of Barbera in it.
Sure thing.
That is absolutely fascinating. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salute.
Salute.
Of course, blending Barbera with Nebbiolo, no matter how delicious, is totally against the rules in Barolo. But you must remember that traditionally, Barolo was always a blend of Nebbiolo taken from different plots of Barolo blended together to make a wine of style. But nowadays, people are moving away from this, and new winemakers are researching their vigneti, their cru, or single vineyards, just like in Burgundy, to create a wine of place. So now we're going to visit one of the oldest wineries of the area, Borgogno, to meet with its new owner winemaker who is in love with the idea of the single cru.
Thank you for giving us an introduction to the wines of Borgogno, Andrea. I'd love to know more about this winery because it looks so kind of old school, the label. I love it.
This label is very, very famous because Borgogno is the most historical winery. It's born in Piemonte in the 1761.
1761?
Yes.
Wow, that's really, really old. Was it your family that started it?
No, it's not my family, it's Borgogno family.
Okay.
The name of my family is Farinetti.
Okay.
We bought Borgogno in 2008, but the history is born in thanks Bartolomeo Borgogno 250 years ago. He's a genius, one of the first farmers to decide to start to make a wine and put in a bottle.
Wow. Okay, so I looked at the name and the first thing I thought, wow, maybe some people get it mixed up with another famous region, maybe one called Burgundy?
Yes, sure. So imagine that in the 1955, for example, Cesare Borgogno received one action, legally action from the Burgundy, because the Burgundy region, thinking Borgogno have copied the name from this very important region for the wine in the world. And the Borgogno say, sorry, but it's my last name and I can't change my name.
Yeah, they were a bit late, weren't they? 1955,
Yes.
and it's already been around for 200 years. That's a bit slow, but what for you is the direction that you're going in with this 200 plus years of history? Do you feel the history is forcing you to go in a direction, or what do you think?
Yes, so I'm very young, but I'm old in my thinking. My philosophy is change nothing. So stay very classic and traditional. I decided to return to use the concrete tanks for the fermentation, for example.
So, in other words, they were using concrete tanks a long time ago and then they changed it out and then you've gone back.
Yes, for example, Borgogno used concrete tanks from the beginning to the 1998 and then by a big cask in a standstill. And from 2010 we returned to use only concrete tanks for fermentation. We decided to stop to use the yeast, the selection yeast for the fermentation and make only spontaneous fermentation from the natural yeast from the skin of the grape. And then we decided to continue to use only a big barrel in Slavonian oak.
Ah, so you kind of went change and then back to the original. Is that because you think the original ways of making it made a better Barolo?
Absolutely, this is my opinion, but we have a very, very old, long tradition. For example, today we have the opportunity to open and to sell Barolo like 1961, 67, 78, so very, very old vintages of our Barolo Riserva, thanks to Cesare Borgogno, because Cesare Borgogno in the 1920s decided to stop 20,000 bottles of every vintage of Grape Riserva for sale just only after 20 years. And today we have the opportunity to understand what is the classic and traditional making style in Barolo thanks to this bottle. And when I come for the first time in my life in Borgogno in 2008, I am with my father on the rooftop with a bottle of Barolo like 1982. I tried this bottle and I have say, okay, I have understand what I want to make in my life.
Oh, wow. So you had to taste the history to realize your future.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm very excited. The one thing I was going to ask you is I noticed all your Barolos have different names on them. You have one called Canubi, you have one called Liste. Would you like to explain what these are?
So the original Barolo from the beginning is a Barolo without a name. It's called only Barolo, Barolo Classico.
Okay.
What is this? This is a Barolo with a different vineyard put inside the wine, okay?
So this is going more towards the idea of different cru.
Absolutely.
Okay.
From the end of 18th century, the producers start to make a single vineyard selection, And we have the fortune to have 5 very important crew in Barolo village.
Wow.
And we decide to make 3 different single vineyards. Canubi is the most historical and popular in Barolo, and because it's like the spine of the Barolo area to divide the old part and the new part, and it's very, very complex and elegant. Then we have Fossati, it's very, very close to La Morra, another village, is much freshness, elegant, feminine Barolo. Then we have Liste, very, very classic and similar to the old Barolo from the beginning, so very vertical. It's a very, very Piemontese wine.
Okay, so now people have the choice then to drink either a blended Barolo from different areas or to have a single vineyard with your wines.
Yes.
So you've brought 2 wines to taste today, which I'm very excited about. Are both these wines made by you?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, we'll taste your hands in this wine. So what is the first wine?
So the first one is Barolo Canubi 2014. Canubi is this very, very popular, important vineyard we have in Barolo village, so in the center of Barolo, and the vintage is 14. Very, very classic and fresh vintages. Is a very, very good Barolo, rich in elegance.
Okay.
To very approachable and drinkable Barolo.
Oh, I look forward to it, please.
Yeah.
Ah. I know that this village of Canubi is a very famous one that many people praise for being the real backbone.
Absolutely. So imagine Barolo Canubi, the first label with the Canubi name, Canubio, in the past, born in the middle of 17th century. So very, very old.
So there is a history in this glass. The history of one of the great vineyards. Oh, that's fantastic. That's got beautiful freshness. You can really smell the freshness, but also that classic sort of red fruits and violets and earthy, delicious. Now that to me tastes super young. Super young. How long would you keep something like that for?
The Canubi usually 20-25 years without problem. And depends also with the kind of vintages you open.
Of course.
2014, maybe 20 is okay.
Okay.
If you open like 2010, for example, 50.
50.
Yeah.
I don't think I can wait that long. I think maybe 14 is a better choice than me. I haven't got the patience to wait that long. So this is lovely because for me, and this is something I want to ask you, is the use of oak here. You're using all big, old oak. Why do you do that? Why don't you use those French barrels?
Yes, we have old and big. What is old for us? We have a medium aging of our barrel is around 45 years. So we have a barrel from 80 years ago and barrel from 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
We use Slavonian oak. So it's a part of forest from Croatia area.
Okay.
And this is much gentler in the wine because don't touch the smell of the wine with a smell like toasted or tobacco, but maintain the freshness and the fruit of the grape.
So what we're really tasting here is true Nebbiolo, the essence.
This is, for us, is very important. The French oak is a very incredible oak, it's very, very good oak. Maybe for us better for the Barbera or for other grapes because touch the wine with a little bit of sweetness, and we don't like this kind of sweetness in the Barolo. We want to maintain the true thing of the Barolo, the structure, the tannins, and the capacity to aging.
Wonderful. Well, you certainly can smell and taste the quality of this Nebbiolo coming through here. And I think the second wine
Yes, the second
should
wine
be even more pronounced, right?
Yeah.
Tell me all about it, and please give me a glass.
Perfect. So, this is my first vintage, 2010.
Ah.
So, for me, it's like an experiment, but it's not an experiment. I have a very, very incredible fortune to start with probably one of the most important vintages the last 100 years.
Yes, that's always good. Always start with a good year. Makes your life easier. Thank you.
Our 2010 Barolo Riserva. What is Riserva for us? This is a Barolo mixed with 3 different single vineyards, so Canubi, Liste, and Fossati, fermented for natural for 12 days, then have 3 months of maceration in a contact with the skin. Then we separate the skin
Just
and
wait.
the wine.
3 months.
3 months.
That's
yes.
way longer than most wine.
Absolutely. This is
Wow.
a very, very classic style to make a Barolo. Then we take the wine and we put in a big barrel in Slavonian oak, 6,000 liter, and stay for 6 years in oak. Then,
6 years.
yeah, then 1 year more in a concrete tanks, then 1 year more in a bottle.
So let me see, this wine has to wait then for 7.5 years
Yes.
before it even gets into a bottle.
Yes.
And then in the bottle, it can age for 50 years, you
Yes.
say this one. So that is 58 years. Wow, that's a long life.
It's a long, long life for a wine.
Well, cheers to the
Cheers.
long life. That is a seriously big wine, but it's funny because it's big and there's structure there, but there's also elegance and freshness. It's not overwhelming, it's not heavy, but there's a power underneath it.
Yes, I think this is a truly philosophy of the classic style to make wine, because many years ago the people thinking if a wine born very strong, rustic, is difficult to drink, but maybe after 20 years become much better. I think it's not like this, because a wine if don't born elegant, don't become elegant.
How
in the
can
future.
it become elegant? I totally agree with you. I think a wine has to drink well from the moment it's born to the moment it dies.
Absolutely. So, and thanks to this very long maceration in a contact with the skin, 3 months, the wine in the first 2 weeks continue to extract everything from the skin, right?
Yeah.
And take structure, acidity, color. After these 2 weeks, the skin return to keep a little thing from the wine,
Yep.
and the wine become very round, approachable, at the same time make also the malolactic fermentation, and when we decide to separate from the skin, the wine is completely ready.
In the interplay between past and present, Barolo has a couple of 100 years. But now let's go to a place where they've been growing vines for millennia and where a new generation of winemakers are making some of the most exciting and dynamic wines in the world. Andiamo in Sicilia.